All right, Martyr folks, Russell here. On today's episode of Fabulous Jeep Repair and Maintenance, we got Scott's TJ here, episode 3. If you remember on the previous 2 episodes, we did a tune-up, ignition system tune-up. I'll put a link card for that video up here. And then the second video we did on this vehicle was new shock absorbers and bump stops, front and rear. And I'll put a link to that one up here. This video today, we're going to be putting in some JKS quick disconnect, Sway Bar Links, and a new Old Man Emu steering damper. If you remember in the previous, if you watched the previous video, you'll see where I'd already disconnected and removed the Sway Bar end links to facilitate axle articulation, so we could do the shocks and remove the springs to do the bump stops. And the same thing with the steering damper. So I'll move the camera, show it up close here, and we'll get this stuff installed. All right, so the steering damper on the TJs and the XJs, because it's all identical. It mounts on the drag link and goes to a bracket on the right side of the axle, right side being as you're driving the vehicle, so passenger side of the axle. It's simple enough to remove. There's a through bolt you take out over here, slip the, compress the damper out. You remove a cotter pin and a nut here, and you put a ball joint separator on it and separate it out. And this is what the factory one looks like, and it's just weak. I've already, the new Old Man Emu steering damper comes with a new pintle to mount it on, and I've already slipped that in, and we'll get it tightened up here. It does not use a cotter pin like the factory one does. It's just a lock washer and a nut. But it's a conical seat, just like your ball joint, so you don't want to do this with an impact. All right. And then you get your steering damper. And it's got, so we'll reuse the old bolt for this end. And as you can see, it's already got a sleeve on this end for that bolt. The other end's open. They do, and install it with the cup facing on the upside so water can't get trapped in it. They do sell this or offer it in the package with a sleeve to go here, probably for other applications or other installs. But you don't use it on a Jeep. Of course, it goes on the pintle. Put a washer on it, lock washer, and then the nut. Now I just got to stretch it out. probably that's probably an 18. Yep. All right, that's it. That's all that's involved with replacing a steering damper on one of these. It can be a little difficult if you don't have a ball joint separator to get this popped out. You can do this job with the Jeep on the ground. You don't have to have it up in the air. But that's all there is to doing this. So I'll set the I'm going to set the camera up so we can see one of the ends and how we do these JKS quick disc and how they install. All right, so we're going to go a little bit out of order. The factory lower sway bar link mounts here, and anyway, it's got a bolt set that goes through here with the round end and the nut on the side. You just take it all out and get rid of it, because what we're going to put on the bottom is this tapered slug, and it's supposed to just fit right in there. Okay, easy enough. This one's got a burr on it that's keeping it from slipping right in. So we're gonna have to clean that out. Look at that. Just like it should be. All right, once you got it in, take a punch to hold it and just tighten it down. There's no washer used on this, although if you have the original washers, which I do, pop one right back there. Won't hurt anything, and it gives you a place to put the original washer. So the whole idea is to make that hole level. All right. And then it gets a rubber bushing. And it's just a matter of repeating the same thing on the other side. Put our pin in there. So for the upper sway bar end link, and I pulled the sway bar down kind of just so we could see it easier. The upper sway bar link is going to mount into this U bracket. There's two of them supplied. They're identical. They go over the bar, and there's two sides. One side is threaded and one side's not. The threaded section goes inboard, all right? So bolt up through, over the bar, nut goes on. The nut is a 17 millimeter. The Allen hex on the bolt is a 6 millimeter. You just tighten it down. And you repeat it and do the same thing on the other side. Threaded end of the bracket goes inboard. Once you've got it tight, take your Allen, run it back through, and then square up the bracket with the bar. And then finish tightening it. And you might have to hold it. So at this point, you have to decide how you want to put them in. Put them in right side up so that you can read JKS. All right, and don't worry about the adjustment right now. Okay, because you're going to do that once it's on the ground. Okay, so just leave it short. Remember I said threaded side inboard. This bolt's going to go through and then thread in there. All right. We have a sleeve. We got our end. Push the sleeve in. Slip it up in there. And tighten it down. Same thing. 6 millimeter. All right, we're going to leave that hang loose. Once we get the wheel on and the car back down on the ground, we'll set these lengths. So I'm going to go ahead and finish installing the other side real quick. We'll get the wheels on the ground, and we'll set up the length of the disconnects based on the angle of the sway bar. There's a specific measurement we have to do. All right, and when you're installing these, if you notice they've got grease fittings on them, make sure you paste the grease fittings facing forward so that you can get to them, because if they're facing aft, you won't be able to get to them. So we've got them in on both sides now. I'm going to push the sway bar up out of the way. Like way up out of the way. And we'll put the tires on. Get this on the ground, and we'll set the sway bar length. All right. You don't have to have one of these to do this, but it certainly helps. So the angle we're going to look for, and I'm going to set my bubble. The ideal angle for this sway bar is 10 degrees up. And we're right on it. So what I'm going to do now All right, so that's 10 degrees. So now what I want to do, get that out of the way so I don't lose it, is get it to where y'all can see. Okay. All right, so we've set the sway bar angle at 10 degrees, so we're not going to touch the sway bar. We want to keep it where it's at. And all I want to do is thread this out. All right, once you've got it turned out, and ideally you want the top of this sway bar at that 10 degrees. For whatever reason, this particular set, I'm having a hard time threading them out. So we've at least got it level, probably closer to 5 degrees. The TJ bar's got an uptick on it, so I'm taking that into account. It should slip right onto that little pin. And you've got a little lock pin. It goes through, locks it over. So when you go off-roading, pull the pin, pop it off, zip tie it up, push the sway bar up out of the way. It's that easy. And that's all there is to doing the disconnects and the steering stabilizer. We're done with this Jeep for now. I'm going to finish this other side and wrap this thing up. Customer's got to take this to another off-road shop and have some welding done on the axles because they've really boogered something up. So a lot of these settings are going to change once they've got the axle fixed. Once again, if you like this content, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon for future notifications. Go ahead and check out the previous 2 videos where I did some other work on this particular Jeep. And as always, there's more to follow.